Every NBA season offers a spectacle beyond the court itself. Rumors, speculations, and strategic moves form a web of expectations that stirs both the backstage and the stands. And amid this atmosphere of tension and twists, the Golden State Warriors, one of the most emblematic franchises of recent times, once again find themselves at the center of attention. The San Francisco team, known for making bold decisions to preserve its dominance, seems ready for another risky step, a step that could completely redefine its identity: the pursuit of Bam Adebayo. The Miami Heat center, now 28 years old, is one of those athletes who transcend mere statistics. His impact is felt in every possession, whether through defensive solidity or refined game intelligence. He is not just a rim protector. He's the kind of player who dictates the rhythm of the defense, coordinates rotations, and transforms the system around him. That explains why Adebayo's name sparks so much interest in San Francisco. The Warriors see in him the piece that could restore balance and strength to their front court, an area that has been one of the team's weak points in recent seasons. While the spotlight shines on the games, the atmosphere behind the scenes is different. Spreadsheets, coded conversations, and discreet phone calls make up the background of a silent race that intensifies as the February 5th trade deadline approaches. Sources close to the league claim that the Warriors' front office is closely monitoring every signal coming from Miami, ready to act the moment an opening appears. There's no formal trade request from Adebayo, but even the rumor that he might be open to new challenges is enough to shake the market. The logic is clear. If a star like Bam shows signs of dissatisfaction, the reaction will be immediate. And among all potential teams, the Warriors would likely be one of the first to step forward. The franchise knows the weight of a name of this caliber and understands how such a player can alter the course of an entire season, especially in an increasingly physical and unpredictable Western Conference, where the smallest detail can be the difference between glory and obscurity. But the mechanics behind a trade of this magnitude are complex. The front office, led by Mike Dunleavy Jr., knows it will have to be creative. One of the names that draws the most attention in this context is Jonathan Kuminga. The 22-year-old forward, recently rewarded with a 2-year, $48.5 million contract extension, is considered one of the roster's most valuable assets. At first, the new deal seemed like a mere vote of confidence in the young player's development, but analysts began to see the move differently. He is now eligible to be included in trades starting January 15th. Kuminga is the type of player every general manager keeps an eye on: athletic, explosive, and still evolving. In other words, the kind of prospect that could tempt a team like the Miami Heat. Behind the scenes, the perception is growing that the young forward could become the centerpiece of a potential package involving draft picks and veteran contracts. A risky but tempting arrangement. The Warriors know that every great achievement demands sacrifices, and parting with a rising talent could be the price to pay for a proven star. The relationship between present and future defines the franchise's current phase. On one side stands the legacy of a legendary generation, led by Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson, players who rewrote recent NBA history. On the other, the inevitable passage of time, which brings the need for renewal. Keeping the original core honors the past, but reinforcing the roster ensures the flame of competitiveness remains alive. Adebayo appears precisely at this intersection between now and what lies ahead. The interest in the center goes beyond his defensive prowess. Bam's playing style fits perfectly with the Warriors' DNA. He's quick enough to keep up with their fast transitions, yet smart enough to operate as an offensive facilitator. His passing from the high post and his court vision are rare skills for someone in his position. Under Steve Kerr, known for valuing movement and versatility, Adebayo could expand his role even further, becoming a tactical extension of the coach on the court. However, the road to this ideal scenario is far from simple. The Miami Heat have neither urgency nor clear reasons to trade away a player who is the heart of their defense and a locker room leader. Pat Riley's front office, experienced and patient, is not one to be pressured by speculation. For any negotiation to move forward, the Warriors would need to present an offer truly impossible to refuse, meaning giving up more than just young talent. First-round picks and supporting contracts would also be part of the equation. Inside the halls of Chase Center, the feeling is that something big is brewing. Team owner Joe Lacob has made it clear on many occasions that he does not fear boldness. For him, being competitive is not enough. One must be dominant. That mindset has shaped the team's winning culture, and the current moment seems like an invitation to rekindle that aggressive mentality. After all, rivals are evolving, rosters are getting younger, and the super team era never truly disappears. Standing still is the same as starting to fall. While Adebayo dominates the headlines, another name begins to emerge as a strategic alternative: Trey Murphy III of the New Orleans Pelicans. At 25 years old and under contract until 2029, valued at $112 million, he represents a more stable and financially manageable option. His offensive versatility and defensive consistency make him a safe, medium-term bet. Still, Murphy's immediate impact cannot compare to Adebayo's. The former would be a valuable addition, the latter a structural transformation. That contrast reflects an ongoing internal debate. How far should one go in betting everything on a superstar when there are more discreet but balanced alternatives? Opinions are divided. Part of the front office believes that a name like Adebayo would reignite the roster's competitive spirit, while others argue the team should prioritize long-term sustainability, avoiding mortgaging the future for a single gamble. There are also the near-fantastical whispers involving Giannis Antetokounmpo. Though unlikely, such rumors serve as a thermometer of the Warriors' ambition. Giannis is under contract through 2028, earning astronomical sums nearing $175 million. A move of that scale would require almost impossible conditions. Still, the mere fact that his name surfaces in internal discussions speaks volumes about the mentality prevailing in San Francisco. Recent history shows that Golden State has never been afraid to break the mold. They did it when they bet on a three-point-centric style of play while the rest of the league doubted. They did it again when they turned underestimated players into global icons. Now, the new frontier seems to be the paint, and Bam Adebayo's name is the beacon lighting the way. Every rumor, every piece of speculation acts as a fragment of a chessboard that is far from complete. The trade deadline approaches like a silent countdown, and the tension rises by the day. Fans, torn between their love for young talents and the desire for another championship, watch intently. In San Francisco, the atmosphere is one of restrained anticipation, as if everyone senses that something is about to happen. They just don't know when. This is the atmosphere that precedes great sporting revolutions, a mix of fear and hope. And the Warriors know that feeling well. They've lived both glory and decline, ecstasy and doubt. Now, once again, they find themselves facing a choice that could redefine their destiny. The question isn't just who will arrive, but what the team is willing to sacrifice to remain at the top. What few realize is that behind the headlines and statistics, the NBA moves like a living organism, governed by strategies, egos, and high-stakes gambles. Every decision made by a franchise like the Golden State Warriors carries a weight far beyond the four lines of the court. In the offices of San Francisco, heated discussions, detailed spreadsheets, and financial projections shape a scenario of silent warfare. What's at stake isn't only the present, it's the future of an entire dynasty. Jonathan Kuminga, the most talked-about name in recent speculation, faces the dilemma every young talent encounters in a team built on legends. On one hand, he's the symbol of a new generation, athletic, confident, and hungry for prominence. On the other, he stands in the colossal shadow of a core that has already won it all. His newly renewed contract makes him both a valuable promise and a tempting trade chip. He knows it. The fans know it. And behind the scenes, everyone feels that something is about to move. Inside the locker room, the atmosphere is one of mutual respect, but also uncertainty. The veterans, used to battles and titles, still believe they can compete for another ring. Yet there's a collective awareness that time is no longer on their side. Their bodies don't respond with the same quickness. Injuries are more frequent, and the once inexhaustible energy now needs to be rationed. It's in this vacuum between experience and youth that tough decisions become inevitable. Mike Dunleavy Jr., the man in charge of leading this transition, faces a delicate equation. He must preserve the legacy of an era while preparing the ground for the next. And it's precisely here that the name Bam Adebayo fits almost symbolically. The Miami Heat center represents the link between two worlds, a player at the peak of his physical and mental power, capable of leading today and sustaining tomorrow. It's not just about talent, it's about identity. Adebayo's arrival wouldn't simply be a trade, it would be a message, a declaration to the rest of the league that the Warriors still refuse to accept the role of supporting cast. They don't just want to participate, they want to set the rhythm, to shape the game, as they did when they turned the three-point shot into art. The idea is clear: modernize without betraying the essence, evolve without erasing the roots. And Bam, with his hybrid style, embodies that transition. But the cost is high. Pat Riley in Miami is known as a ruthless negotiator. He doesn't move on impulse. Every decision is calculated to the millimeter. To the Heat, Adebayo is more than a player. He's an emotional and tactical pillar. Letting him go would mean dismantling part of the structure that carried the team to finals and memorable campaigns. That's why any offer arriving from San Francisco would need to be irresistible, almost indecent in technical and financial return. The leaks that reach the press are only the tip of the iceberg. Behind the scenes, intermediaries are already testing possibilities, exchanging scenarios, analyzing counterparts. Draft picks, expiring contracts, and young talents are the currency that builds these negotiations. In such a competitive market, every minute counts, and a single misplaced word can ruin weeks of quiet work. Meanwhile, Kuminga tries to keep his focus on the court. He knows his best answer is performance. Every game is a showcase, every play a statement. The pressure is invisible but constant. He plays as someone aware that his own future is up for auction, and it's precisely that sense of urgency that gives his game an almost desperate energy. The desire to prove that he belongs, that he's part of the present and not just a promise of the future. Outside, the fans live a mixture of anxiety and nostalgia. For many, the team should have reinvented itself long ago. For others, tampering with the core feels almost heretical. Stephen Curry, the face of the franchise, remains the beating heart of the team, but even he recognizes that the landscape has changed. The league has grown younger, more physical, more unpredictable, and to stay relevant, Golden State must adapt fast. Within this context, Adebayo emerges as an almost surgical solution. He would bring the interior strength that's been missing while expanding Steve Kerr's offensive options. His presence would free Curry and Thompson to do what they do best: punish defenses with movement and precision. Defensively, the combination of Adebayo and Draymond Green could be devastating, a wall of intelligence and intensity rarely seen. But what happens if the deal doesn't go through? That's the question hanging in the air. In that case, attention could shift back to Trey Murphy III. Young, disciplined, and on the rise, he offers a less risky, more sustainable path. His profile fits a gradual transition, ensuring stamina and consistency for the coming seasons. Still, it's undeniable that the emotional and symbolic impact of a star like Bam is unmatched. Inside the franchise, that divergence is real. Some argue for patient rebuilding, accumulating assets and preparing the ground for a new cycle. Others believe the moment to act is now, that while Curry is still performing at a high level, every season must be treated as a golden opportunity. And between these two extremes, decisions grow more intense, more political, more human. Tension rises as the calendar advances. The clock is ticking, and the weeks leading up to the trade deadline turn into a parallel game, where every move can change the season's destiny. What happens in offices and private meetings is as decisive as what unfolds on the court. Basketball, after all, is a war of choices. Meanwhile, a new piece begins to move quietly on this chessboard. Sotto. The 22-year-old Filipino emerges as a figure of curiosity, expectation, and even global pride. For many, he represents not just an emerging talent, but a cultural phenomenon. His presence connects continents, stirs fan bases, and builds bridges between cultures. And it's precisely for that reason that his name is starting to surface in conversations about the Warriors' future. Kai Sotto isn't just a tall player with a long wingspan. He's a promise of narrative, something that transcends the game. Standing nearly 220 meters with a blend of strength, coordination, and uncommon offensive vision, he draws attention for his adaptability. His growth in Asian leagues and technical discipline make him one of the most intriguing prospects outside the United States. But the challenge, as always, lies in the leap to the NBA, where the demand is brutal and the pace relentless. For the Golden State Warriors, betting on Kai would be bold but strategic, not only in sporting terms, but also culturally and commercially. The Bay Area is home to one of the largest Filipino communities outside the Philippines, and the arrival of a player like him would have an enormous impact. The energy in the stands, the engagement on social media, the boost to the franchise's global reach, all of it forms part of a package that goes far beyond what happens on the hardwood. Picture the Chase Center vibrating to the sound of Filipino voices echoing through the stands. Flags, chants, national pride. Kai wouldn't just be a player, he'd be a symbol, a bridge between cultures. And for the Warriors, that would mean not only a technical upgrade, but also an expansion of influence in the Asian market. A smart move at a time when the NBA is becoming ever more global. However, the road there demands patience. Entering the NBA isn't just a matter of isolated talent. It's a process that involves mental, physical, and emotional adaptation. Kai would have to prove quickly that he can keep pace with the best. His strength, while impressive, would need refinement to face dominant centers. His mobility would need to adjust to a faster, more intense game. And above all, his confidence would be tested before crowds and critics that don't forgive mistakes. Even so, analysts agree. If there's a place where he could truly blossom, it's Golden State. The environment, known for valuing development and tactical intelligence, offers the perfect structure to polish young talent. Playing alongside veterans like Curry and Green would give Kai a unique education, a learning laboratory few ever experience. The idea of seeing Kai Sotto wearing gold and blue already fascinates, and for many, it symbolizes the fusion between tradition and future. The Warriors, who once revolutionized basketball with boldness and vision, now face the chance to lead another kind of transformation, not only sporting, but cultural as well. A team that has always represented innovation may once again be on the verge of breaking boundaries. Kai, for his part, carries the weight of a passionate nation. Every step he takes is watched by millions of hopeful eyes. In the Philippines, basketball is more than a sport. It's part of the national identity. To be the first to truly establish himself in the NBA would be more than a personal triumph. It would be a historic milestone. And if that chapter is written in San Francisco, the impact will be felt far beyond the courts. Basketball, more than any other sport, lives through cycles, and each cycle is defined by choices. For the Golden State Warriors, history repeats itself with a new roster, new promises, and the same ghosts of the past haunting every decision. The franchise that revolutionized the NBA with boldness and intelligence must now prove that it can still reinvent itself. The name of Bam Adebayo represents that reinvention in the form of strength. Kai Sotto's name embodies that transformation in the form of hope. Behind the scenes, Warriors executives are carefully analyzing the possibilities. An ideal scenario would include Adebayo's arrival to impact the present and Kai's integration to shape the future. One represents the now, the other, tomorrow. But the NBA rarely offers balance. Every move that strengthens the present usually comes with a long-term sacrifice. And that's where the true difficulty of a franchise in transition lies. The challenge goes beyond the financial aspect. It's a test of identity. For years, Golden State built an image of fluid, creative, and collective basketball. The quick-passing, off-ball movement style became the team's trademark, inspiring generations. But time has changed, and the game has changed with it. Today, defenses are more aggressive, rosters deeper, and stars younger. The old formula must be adapted, and that takes courage. Kai Sotto, in theory, fits naturally into this new context. He's not the static center of decades past. He has mobility, vision, and a sense of positioning that can be developed. His potential to be a creator from the paint puts him within the style Steve Kerr values most. But there's a catch. He's still a promise, not a certainty. And what the Warriors need most right now are certainties. Meanwhile, the rumors involving Adebayo are intensifying. Reports indicate that preliminary talks have already taken place, albeit discreetly. The Heat's management neither confirms nor denies it. And in the NBA world, silence is almost always the loudest signal of all. It's known that Miami doesn't want to rebuild, but also understands that if a deal with strategic value arises, it would be unwise not to listen. Inside the league, information suggests that the Warriors have already drafted trade packages involving Kuminga, Moses Moody, and a first-round pick, a robust combination strong enough to open dialogue, but still short of what Miami would deem irresistible. Even so, the very fact that such scenarios are being discussed shows the interest is real, and that something big might be brewing. At the Chase Center offices, the pressure is palpable. Joe Lacob monitors every detail, fully aware that any move will define the franchise's next few years. He knows the fans don't just want a competitive team, they want a historic one, worthy of the Curry era. And it's that expectation that makes everything even more intense. Every step, every rumor, every interview has the power to ignite the city. While the focus of negotiations revolves around Adebayo, Kai Sotto's figure hovers as a silent promise of renewal. The young Filipino, with his natural charisma and visible humility, inspires empathy even among the skeptics. He represents the kind of energy the Warriors value, disciplined, curious, and committed. In the workouts he's done with NBA franchises, he's left a positive impression for his attitude, attentive listening, and eagerness to learn, and that matters. If the Adebayo project is the bet for immediate impact, the Kai Sotto project is the seed planted for the future. Behind the scenes, some members of the coaching staff see him as an experiment that could bear fruit in 2 or 3 years. And even if he's not an immediate starter, his presence would add symbolic, technical, and commercial value. In a league that expands every season into the global market, Golden State fully understands the power of being a pioneer. Yao Ming's success in the early 2000s forever changed the relationship between the NBA and the Asian market. Decades later, Kai Sotto could represent the new bridge between continents, and the Warriors, aware of this perspective, don't want to miss the opportunity to lead that movement. His signing wouldn't just be a sporting move, but an investment in something greater, the expansion of the very concept of a global franchise. In San Francisco, Filipino fans are already dreaming of this union. On forums, social networks, and the streets near the Chase Center, Kai's name appears on posters and improvised banners. There's a sense of belonging in the air, as if the mere possibility of his arrival already meant a collective victory. And for an organization that has always known how to balance performance and spectacle, this kind of passion is too valuable an asset to ignore. But the technical challenge is undeniable. Kai still needs to prove he can handle the NBA's physical level. American centers are faster, more aggressive, and possess exceptional timing. The transition from an Asian league to the American one demands a massive mental and tactical leap. He'll need to adapt to the speed of plays, the intensity of defenses, and the weight of expectations. However, if he succeeds, he could write one of the most inspiring stories in modern league history. From the Warriors' perspective, everything revolves around one principle: control. Controlling the present without destroying the future, balancing fan passion with spreadsheet logic, maintaining a competitive spirit without compromising stability. Adebayo represents strength, Kai, hope, and the intersection point between those two names could define the franchise's destiny for years to come. Within the coaching staff, there's a phrase that keeps echoing behind the scenes: the dynasty isn't over, it's just changing form. That belief sustains the project. They know the days of absolute dominance are gone, but they believe the flame hasn't been extinguished. The question is how to reignite it, and with which pieces. Stephen Curry, even at 37, remains the spiritual leader of the team. His commitment, ethics, and contagious energy inspire the younger players. He knows the end is closer than the beginning, and that's precisely what makes him more dangerous. Curry doesn't just play for titles, he plays for legacy, and he understands that leaving a competitive team for the future is part of that legacy. Around him, the team tries to rebuild emotionally. Draymond Green, the voice of the defense, remains the locker room thermometer. His role goes beyond the physical. He's the link between coach and players, the guardian of the culture that turned Golden State into an empire. And that's exactly why Adebayo's arrival would be symbolic. Draymond would see in him a mirror. Two players who live and breathe basketball with almost spiritual intensity. The fusion of the two would create a mental and defensive fortress capable of redefining the standard of the Western Conference. In that context, Sotto would be the apprentice observing masters. He would absorb lessons, understand systems, and feel the weight of responsibility. The plan, according to those close to the staff, would be to integrate him gradually, allowing him to grow without the immediate pressure for results, a mid-term investment, but with long-term potential. The Golden State Warriors, long accustomed to being the model of innovation, may now stand before a new chapter, one that blends strategy, emotion, and global vision. Basketball is a mirror of its time, and perhaps this new era of the Warriors will reflect not only the desire to win, but to evolve with the world. Every decision made in the coming weeks will shape not only the roster, but also the very meaning of what it means to be a dynasty in the modern NBA era. The question echoing through the corridors of San Francisco is simple yet powerful. How far is it worth going to remain the team everyone wants to beat? And while that question remains unanswered, the lights of the Chase Center stay on late into the night, because it's there, in the silence between one meeting and another, that the future begins to take shape, and the new cycle of the Golden State Warriors may be being born right before our eyes. As the behind-the-scenes talks continue and the trade deadline clock ticks down silently, one certainty emerges on the horizon. The Golden State Warriors are preparing for something big. Whether with Bam Adebayo reshaping the paint, Jonathan Kuminga striving to prove he belongs to the franchise's future, or Sotto representing the new frontier of global basketball, the San Francisco team once again walks the line between tradition and boldness. The past has taught that every dynasty is born from the courage to do the unthinkable, and if there's one thing that defines the Warriors, it's exactly that, the ability to turn risks into revolutions. In a universe where every play is calculated, the true difference lies in who dares first. And perhaps very soon, the world will once again see gold and blue shining at the top. But until then, what remains is expectation. Expectation and faith in the process, the vision, and the magic this team has already proven capable of creating. The next chapter of this story is being written now, silently, in the corridors of San Francisco. And when it's revealed, no one will be left indifferent. If you want to follow every detail of this new Warriors journey, every rumor, every backstage twist, every possible turning point, this is the time to join us. Leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell, because what's coming next could completely change the course of the NBA. The future is in motion, and you won't want to watch it from afar.